nice dude in person, but I know how y'all get when y'all get to, you know what I mean? You probably show up to the club with a Crown Royal bag around your Johnson. So, y'all different, but I can't see Rickey doing that because, you know, he's like nice dressed dude, but I want to see you in your cute element, man.
Yeah, you see me around the YE bros when I'm at Jackson State University homecoming or around the Russ College bros or the Alpha Phi bros. When I have on my stuff, I be a whole different.
Them boots, them boots is like the Superman
fighting on, put on no lotion. I be ashy.
Really?
Yeah. Behind the grill, you know, grilling chicken, making the purple oil.
Oh, yeah. See, I got to see all that.
But Alphas put me on my first comedy show, Alabama A&M Alphas. Marco Arrington and all those guys, man, they put me on my first comedy show in the Alphas and the Deltas of some of my biggest supporters that helped start my career.
Yeah. Were you in school still?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I started, too. I started hosting all the stuff for fraternity, all of the pageants and all of that stuff. And then when I graduated, I went to go get a job at where I did an internship, and I thought I was going to be a news anchor.
Right.
And I went to get a job, and they told me I was going to be making $6.25 an hour part-time. I was like, no, I'm not. If I'm going to be poor and struggling, I'd much rather be poor and struggling doing something for myself than helping somebody else get rich.
How did you start, and where did you start? Like, you came out of bruh, listen. So I'm on a show in Houston. I think it was me, you, DC Youngfly, Mike Epps.
Yeah, Carlos.
And Carlos. So I'm like, I had heard of you. So I had your intro, you know, written on a piece of paper or whatever. So I stood on the stage and I watched. I'm like, who are these little young dudes on the show? And that was the first I saw you on social media. Man, you went on stage and killed.
Yeah.
So when you came on stage, I saw something in you, and I pulled you to the side and said, come on, we got to talk.
That's all he did. And I didn't know what it was about when he pulled me to the side, because you know how Rickey voice sounded. He said, hey, young, come here. We got to talk to you. Let me talk to you for a second.
What I say, Carla?
Like, look, you say,
Chico,
look here, man, you good. You know what I mean? You good. You real good. I done seen a lot of stuff, but you good. But you can't, hey, man, make sure when you do what you do it like this and give a little bit of advice. But don't do that last thing you did. You ain't got to do that.
Yeah, you know why I said that? You know, I said that Bruce Ayers, Stardome, who gave me my start.
Yeah, Bruce I just went and did the Stardome this year and killed it. Yeah,
I already know. Well, you know, they gave me they the one that gave me my start. You know what he told me? I told him, I only told you what he told me. Mm-hmm. You so talented, man. It's just certain stuff that you just ain't got to do. Mm-hmm. So the guys that have to do that don't have the talent that you have, and they use that as a crutch.
Yep, that's exactly what you said.
Yeah. I said, man, you good. I said, you don't need that, man. Yeah. I said, you let them other dudes have that. You let them do all that. You finna be a star. Yeah. It's certain stuff, and I'm so proud, man.
That was your exact words that you tried to break my fingers with a football. For all the Rickey Smiley fans, man, he's a good dude, but he's a terrorist on the low, man. I'm telling you. We throwing the football, he was like, Chico, go that way. Let me show you something real quick. Run that way. Do a 5 round and out. I got you. Threw the ball hard as he could throw it. I'm like, hey, man, I got a family, man. What's wrong with you, man? You trying to break my fingers?
You know, when you grow up in the state of Alabama, man, you got to play football.
Well, I didn't grow up in the state of Alabama. I didn't even grow up in the state. I grew up in D.C. I grew up in a district. We don't throw the football like that, sir. My fingers ain't made that for that.
I know full-grown transvestites that
you do?
I know, but guess what?
Hey, you lead into that. But why you doing this when I'm on the show, man?
But guess what? They used to play football. So you grow up, no matter what you become, you got a football fan.
Now, see, that's what. Come on, man. You trying to set me up with the AARP? Then you go to the transvestites. No, I'm like, what am I supposed to have? Tranny fingers like that? Does that sound like a snack or something that you get from somewhere you ain't supposed to be at, man? This is terrible.
Hold on, Chico, man. Okay, so when did you know? What was the defining moment that you knew that, you know what? I'm pretty funny. I can probably do a career doing this thing. When did you know that?
Actually, when my first time getting on stage, like my story is a little different. I started in North Carolina where I went to school at.
Right.
You know, and the reason why I started is because, you know, I lost my father when I was 2 to murder. So, you know, I never had any relationship with my dad. So I went to his gravesite for the first time when I graduated, and he didn't have a headstone. So I was like, oh, man, you know, whatever he had did in his life up until that point hadn't gotten him a marker to let the world know he existed, nor nobody else was in the position to be able to do it for him. So at that point, I was like, I can't be a patch of grass. I got to do something. I didn't know what it was, but I got to do something. And my boy Jerome was like, man, you got to do comedy. You got to do comedy. I had never been to a comedy show before. So it was an open mic night at the Greensboro Comedy Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with that club. And the first Thursday I went and watched everybody do horrible. So I was like, I can at least do this bad. And then I went back the next Thursday and I went up and did 4 minutes. Now I know you can't kill in 4 minutes, but at that time I felt like that was the greatest 4 minutes. I remember my first joke I ever told was about what I wanted the inauguration to look like if Obama won. And that was my whole 4 minutes. And when I got off stage, I literally was like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
So how long you been doing it now?
Since 2008.
Are you serious?
Yeah, since 2008. But see, I started in a market where nobody was, nobody's coming to Greensboro to look for it. I'm from D.C. and started my career there. So
what was your first big show?
Wildin' Out.
Really?
Wildin' Out.
And you ended up on Wildin' Out?
Yeah, but see, I went and did a show with Nick 2 years prior to Wildin' Out. Like, it was the same type of scenario, kind of like how you pulled me to the side. It was the same thing.
Right.
Like, when I got to the comedy club, it was Gotham, the comedy club in New York City.
Oh,
and that was my first time ever doing a club like that. And when I got there, the owner was like, hey, man, you can't curse, you can't say the N-word, you can't do this. We really looking for people who funny.
I bombed the first time at Gotham Comedy Club in New York.
Well, I didn't.
The little people had a convention.
Oh, come on.
And so they had booked the whole comedy night. And it was all kind of little people. It was the tall ones, it was the short ones, and they said you can't talk about them, you can't say nothing about them because they're sensitive. So I walked on stage and nobody's feet was touching the floor. Bro, I just said, hey, y'all, I apologize. I can't do it. I walked on stage.
Walked on stage. Well, that ain't a bomb. That is a graceful bow out. Then you can't stop telling people you bombed and tell people you gracefully bowed out the first time you did Gotham. But for me, at that time, that was all my jokes. That was what I was talking about at the time because I felt like that's what I needed to do. So I had to go outside and get a new set together. So my process is I don't really write stuff down. I just walk in, talk to myself, get it in my mind. And Nick walked in and saw me doing that and just thought I was some crazy dude in New York talking to myself, which is not rare at all. Right. So when I got on stage, I killed. When I came off, he pulled me to the side and said, hey, man, was you just outside making all that up? I was like, yeah. And I really didn't know how he was going to receive it. He was like, look, I'm around some of the best in the game every day. They can't do what you just did. Keep working. And then fast forward 2 years later, when they brought back Wildin' Out, I went and auditioned, and he remembered me from that performance. Like, I remember you the dude that was talking to himself. Yeah. And then that, was the beginning process.
So can you stick around? You in a rush?
No, I ain't in no rush, man. I ain't going nowhere after the transvestite fingers. I'm not going nowhere. This is my job now, because if I don't get booked no more, I work for the radio show, because they trying to set me up.